According to Archon, contracts to move large amounts of material like that weren't worth the effort. Once the notion of being able to bring materials to Bismarcky on the side was brought up, he had at least agreed to entertain the offer though. Hence they found themselves heading for the training field on Dragonback once again. They managed to get Ignis to put together a set of things for both Tom and Esmeralda, to be built to the Flaxens of course, so it could be shipped out with Tiguan, saving precious weeks of treatment. As expected, they have found both Baron and Tiguan there, along with Victoria and the rest of Baron's crew, Maiko still being assigned to Sapphire and the others. A brief if fierce negotiation of rates had followed shortly after settling down, as Sapphire left them to it, going to look for Ray instead. She did not have to look long, the cripple being in the middle of assisting some of Tiguan's crew in cleaning and polishing the dragon prior to departure. "Good morning, going for a full shine today?" Saph let out happily, looking at Ray. "Yeah, I don't want to be intercepted en route," Tiguan replied before Ray could answer, voice heavy with concern. "The flags are all packed, right?" "Spares too," one of the ground crew replied, sounding like that wasn't the first time he'd been asked that. "And spare lines for the spare flags." "Thanks," the dragon replied, not sounding like the assurances had helped much. "I'm sure you'll be fine, and both Arkeep and Deriva will know you're coming," Saph tried, looking up at the dragon. "I know, I've just never gone that far out before, and never alone." "Well, if anyone is dumb enough to intercept a dragon of the Royal Guard, you laugh at them and carry on flying," one of Tiguan's proper crew shouted out, clearly trying to sound as optimistic as he could. "Or have a nice sampling of their pantries to repay for the offence," another one joined in. Tiguan replied with nervous laughter. "Yeah, I'll just do that." "It will be fine, I'm sure. Ray, I have a question for you. What are you planning on doing once Tiguan departs?" "They have let me stay here for a bit with my things until the court case is done. Then the evidence needs to go, so to speak," Ray replied in false optimism, as she continued to work away at Tiguan's side. "I have something for you then," Sapphire went, walking up to her, getting out the scroll Dakota had penned last night. "What's that?" Ray questioned, drying off her hands on a rag and getting to her feet. "An employment contract for Arkeep," Sapphire replied, as if it was no big deal. Ray's eyes went wide before launching herself onto Sapphire, who staggered back a few steps, wrapping around her with both arms, legs and tail, not saying a word. "See, I told you things would work out," one of the ground crew let out, clearly directed at Tiguan. "Calm down, you haven't read it yet," Sapphire went, patting Ray on the back as she refused to let go. "I don't care, I'll do it," came the reply, as she finally loosened her grip, dropping to the ground. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." "Don't mention it, we need more hands, and we need hands that can be trusted." "You can be trusted, right?" Sapphire asked rhetorically, looking at Ray with a sly smile. "Yes, I can keep secrets, I can stay out of sight, I can mop the floors and do the dishes." "You're not coming here to be a slave. Besides, I very much doubt Tom would allow that," Sapphire replied with a laugh, as Ray stood there fidgeting, radiating happiness like a kid who had just gotten the present they'd been begging for years. "Read it though. You are to join the craftspeople as a greenhorn, working your way up through the ranks, as is tradition, though I have no idea what lies ahead. Times are a little strange back home." "But I'm no crafter. I'm a guard technically," Ray replied, sounding a tad confused. "It's just paperwork. I'm guessing you'll be spending most of your time helping everyone out as best as you can, and everyone stands in the defense of the keep if it comes to it." "I can do that, no problem," Ray replied giddily, as she took the scroll, reading it through. "I haven't signed anything in years." She clutched the scroll close to her chest, looking to Sapphire, who held out the ballpoint pen she had borrowed from Tom. "What's that?" Ray questioned, with a head tilt. "A pen. You better get used to strange things. Let's go inside and get it sized, shall we?" "Oh yes, I'll be right back," she went, looking to Tiguan as she turned to half run inside the stables. Sapphire looked up at the black dragon, giving him a wink. "Thank you," the dragon went, with a slight head bow. Sapphire giving a quick bow in return with a flourish and a laugh, before she followed Ray inside. Following the nice chit-chat in the hall, the Nook had arrived with Zarko, and set about bringing Tom up to speed on what had been going on while he was out. To say he was surprised didn't quite cut it. "What do you mean kidnapped? What the fuck is wrong with you people?" Tom let out in protest. "It's not like this is common. The bitch apparently decided to play even less fair than we anticipated," the Nook protested, in a more diplomatic tone. "Well, why don't we just blow her up then and see how they respond to that?" "Would you just calm down for a second? They are fine and she will pay for this," Nook tried again, getting an edge to her tone. "Oh, she better. Our problems right now are what to do with the 5 kids and this blasted dagger." "Well, the knife goes into the armory, along with Celestine's horn, until we can figure out what to do with them. I would have the knife sent to the capital, that's for sure. No idea what you were even supposed to do with a unicorn horn," Zarko replied, sounding conflicted on the last subject. "We can't take care of any more kids here. I'm afraid we aren't doing so hot as is," Lady Deriva added, sounding very apologetic. No, that's perfectly understandable. We have to take them for the time being. They are apparently planning on rebuilding Highstell as quickly as possible. If their extended family ends up taking it over, they might go there. Alternatively, we might have to send them to the capital, the Nook stated. They have family, right? We're not just sending them... you know where? Fengi questioned, sounding very worried, almost pleading in fact. Highstell is an old family. I'm sure they have some people who can take care of them out there somewhere, the Nook replied, clearly trying to comfort her. How quickly can they rebuild the keep then? Tom questioned. That was an interesting proposition to him. He knew that Bismarcky was ancient and that new keeps weren't built too often. The walls were still standing, so it's mainly timber work, and they are right next to the forest. Then there is the furnishings, tools, equipment and supplies. I believe they are expecting to be done in time for winter, so it's ready for spring, the Nook replied plainly. That's not bad, Tom had to admit. Even if he could imagine a certain unicorn being a little pissed about it. Well, they are getting a dragon to help out with the construction as well as help keep this place safe. Again, I have to thank you for this, Anouk. I have no idea how your daughter pulled that off, Lady Driva let out, sounding genuinely thankful. It wasn't her idea. She was simply questioning your ability to continue defending your keep. No offense, but you are not ready for further battle. No, we are not. I thought it was rare to see dragons this far out, and now there's 2 stationed here? Tom questioned, looking up to where he guessed Jarix was. Oh, that's not the craziest part, Fengi added, sounding excited. They are deploying a free dragon wing led by Baron. They also want Archon to run resupply for all the keeps in the island, in addition to delivering the things needed at Highstall. Holy shit! Jackie broke out, apparently not having heard that part before. 3 of them and Ark? We are not going to be feeding them, that's for sure. The wing will have to hunt for themselves, Jarix added from above, sounding a tad worried. My mother is apparently among them. I'm not looking forward to her reaction to what happened to my armor, he continued jokingly, though still sounding more than a tad worried. I would be more worried about your father on that point. Well, no, actually, Tom, you should probably be the one worried about him. On a scale from, say, Surrey to Run for the Hills, how worried? Tom questioned, hoping for a bit more good news. Running won't save you. Don't worry, I can outrun him, and my deployment has been extended to pretty much as long as it takes, Jarix let out with a chuckle, apparently not finding the situation too concerning. Glad to have you. I take it we are not going to be lacking in security for much longer then, not with your mother-in-law, Tom replied, genuinely relieved. He assuming Jarix was a mix of Ark and her personalities. He didn't want to end up on her bad side. Oh no, the Darklings need to run even further than you, that's for sure. She will give chase to the edge of the world if she has to, Jarix replied, with a fair amount of pride in his voice, even if he was clearly just jesting a bit. They need to get here first, and while Tigran should be here in a few days, it will take at least another week for the others to follow, likely more, the Nook replied. He's carrying some things for both you and Esmeralda as well. Hopefully it would help get you back on your feet, courtesy of the Flaxen family apparently. So, poison then, Tom let out with a chuckle. No, but I'm not going to lie, I don't feel brilliant. You don't look brilliant either, Jackie went, clutching him a bit tighter, nuzzling him. They aren't going to be striking again anytime soon after that freshing. With a combat wing going around, they won't be able to touch us. So you just eat, drink, or whatever your medicine, and it'll be all fine, Jackie added in, confident as ever. Don't say things like that, you upset Murphy, Jarix shushed her, leaving a slightly awkward silence. Is Tom's god of bad luck? The dragon went, causing Tom to break out laughing. No, he really isn't a god, very far from it. It's just a set of laws. Did I just become a criminal? Jackie questioned, sounding rather concerned. At that, Tom just fucking lost it for a few seconds. No, Jackie, the only thing you're guilty of is stealing my heart, Tom tried, pushing up against her for a bit. Smooth, dude, Zarko let out, sounding rather unimpressed after a short silence. But in all seriousness, Tigran is one of Jarix's classmates, so to speak. He's a really nice guy. I still don't get how he got in, Jarix interrupted, sounding rather perplexed, receiving a slightly annoyed grunt from Zarko. Now, here's a black dragon, just so everyone is aware. Don't worry, he's one of the sweetest I've ever met. Tom felt Jackie tense a little at that, as no one said anything for a second. Just behave yourself and be nice. Honestly, he's more likely to sit and watch you than even touch you. He can be a little sensitive, Jarix added, trying to whisper for some reason, even if everyone could still hear him just fine. Sweet, another big softie. And no need to dig this one out of his shell either, Tom joked, imagining the face Jarix was currently wearing. Oh, you two are gonna get along just fine, I think, Zarko added, seemingly finding that a tad funny too. Who is that? Sapphire questioned, looking up from her place, having struck down Tigran's armor and harnesses. The others had gathered around Tigran, so he and Yils could weigh in on the discussions. Sapphire and Balathon lent a hand with the preparations on Tigran. Oh, that's Glira, the black dragon replied, looking to the monster of a blue dragon, now slowly trotting over towards them. Also known as the reason why Jarix is so damn awesome, the dragon continued, sounding a tad starstruck. Wait, that's Jarix's mother? Sapphire questioned. Oh, yeah, didn't you know? Tigran retorted, sounding unsure if he just said too much. Didn't get much of a chance to talk with him before leaving, Sapphire replied, eyes locked on the dragon. She was long and lean like Archon, but she was even larger. Despite her more slender frame, she might be closer to Baron than her mate in weight. She was a rival for the legendary Red in the Scars Department too. Is that a spiked hammer on her tail? That looks so badass, Barton added, always having looked up from his work.
It is, thank you very much,
Glira replied, half shouting, easily picking up the conversation from afar. And yes, I'm Jarix's mother, and if he has decided to be ashamed of me, then here's another thing coming, she continued in a cocky tone, her head held high. So, Ark, old boy, you finally decided to swing by and say hi, you scheming old scoundrel?
Yes, I've been very busy, court cases and all that, you know,
Ark replied with a slight cough.
Oh, drop the charade, I'm not that stupid.
Anyway, it sounds like I owe you an apology. Sending Jarix to that middle of nowhere keep really did pay off. Not that I expect that was your intention, but still, well done, she replied, clearly mocking him. Yes, your son truly went above and beyond. We are very much so in his debt, as is both Heister and Deriva, Dakota went with a bow. The dragon looking down at her curiously, keeping her head cocked back. And you are? Dakota Bismarti. Glira took a second to think, looking almost like she was expecting more before replying. Oh, that's right, I forgot what it was called. Well, make no mistake, I didn't want him to go out there. I'd outright as my son. Still, it worked out most marvellously for all involved. I do have a few questions for you now that I have you, though, Glira replied, lowering her head down to Dakota's eye level, people backing up to give her space. I have heard some rumors, though I am of course entirely certain that they are untrue. I merely want your reassurances. By all means, Dakota replied, no longer seeming quite so calm and collected. Is it true you have my son plowing your fields and filling your pantries when you should be providing him hospitality in exchange for security? The dragon questioned, very pointedly baring her teeth ever so slightly. Dakota was suddenly looking very small. Those rumors are true, I'm afraid. To my knowledge, Tom has elected to put Jarix through an extensive training program, she replied, clearly fighting to keep her cool. Glira stared at her for a second or two, before she broke out in raucous laughter.
I knew it! Victoria, remind me that Baron owes me 25 gold!
The blue dragon went, as she drew her head back, looking to Archer, leaving a stagnant, probably half-deaf Dakota standing there, wondering what just happened.
You should have taken that bet too, but no! Gambling never pays off. Even if you don't have faith in your son, at least have the faith in your ability to teach him to do an honest day's work. They even managed to get you to pay for it, so it's a net loss already. I know you like those fancy terms, she continued, laughing all the while. I said I won't place bets on our son's future, thank you very much. And I do believe in him. I believe he has the ability to get himself killed, which he apparently damn near managed, Ark replied, sounding rather offended. Could you at least be a little worried? I still think the notion is absurd, Baron added, seemingly disinterested as he looked away. Victoria trying in vain to catch his gaze, shaking her head. One of these days you are going to learn not to make those kind of stupid bets. You just never win, Victoria went, still looking up at the dragon who refused to acknowledge her. Hey Baron, another 25 says Jarix will refuse to come home once he gets settled in. Not like we can make one for whether or not he would follow orders now, Glira went, still laughing uproariously. Deal. He will miss having a proper bath, Baron replied in a very displeased tone. Oh, come on, Victoria protested, holding her arms out wide. As a matter of principle, Baron replied, still refusing to look down at her. I wouldn't put it past Tom to make one, if that is what it takes, Balathon added in, jabbing an elbow into Sapphire's side. Anyway, enough idle chit-chat. I heard you were heading out to some actual action, not to mention near enough to say hi to my little whelp. His Majesty's Dragon Glira at your service, Colonel. The dragon went, backing up and giving a very slight bow, smiling wide all the way, seemingly not able to take it seriously. You just want another week or two of lying around doing nothing, don't you? Victoria questioned sarcastically, as she wrote something down on her clipboard. Doesn't matter, because you're on the docket now. Maybe having to keep up with you for the immediate future will temper Baron's willingness to make these stupid bets, Victoria continued, making a point of avoiding Baron's gaze as he looked down at her, seeming rather displeased with that comment. Good to hear. I'll be enjoying my well-earned time off until then. If you need me, I'll be wherever the sun is the warmest.
Glera replied, turning around, letting her tail swing overhead, massive steel spike included, brushing it up against Arshen's neck before slowly walking off. As she turned around, Sapphire got a good look at her. She was not wearing armor, but the amount of battle damage was substantial, especially in the shape of some rather large round areas of messed up scales running down her flanks, which looked rather odd. She is quite the character, Balathon added, sounding rather shocked.
You have no idea,
Ark replied, not taking his eyes off her. Now, don't go making any bad decisions. She's not good for you, Volson pleaded, in a tone that made it sound like this wasn't the first time.
Shut it, Volson, you're not his nanny,
Glera shouted back at them with another laugh. Arshen had stayed put, though, as they went through what Tigran would be carrying before loading him up with all the necessary supplies. And so, with a few words of encouragement and a goodbye hug from Ray, they sent him on his way, watching him climb away into the morning sky.